everyone. I did warn I'll be back on stage soon, and now it's going to be a pleasure being part of this conversation. We have some of our brightest minds, some supermarketers here. We have agency representation, so everybody who is making a difference to the ecosystem is here, and we have a very, very simple topic, which is how do you future-proof brands. मतलब इससे ज़्यादा easy क्या हो सकता है? And these gentlemen have, and our lady, we're pretty much balancing it, have a very simple task, which is, why do you even have to put your mind to it? But we will narrow this down to a digital-first, fragmented, AI-first lens world. And my first question is about brand age. I came across this study, and there are studies almost every year that brand age is shrinking. So brands would come up, we would have 60 years at least a brand could have lived, or a large number of brands could have lived. Now the age is 20. That means a very large number of brands are going off our radar within a gap of 20 years, which is not the best news. Now, how does this impact, and I know Karan and Sai know that, I'm going to really start with them. It's a love-hate relationship. We are going to look at how or what in an AI-first lens, everything going digital, how does this number change, or what is the significance of this number? Sai, you only go first.
To be honest, I was not aware of this stat till the time I spoke to you.
Saw my question.
I saw your message.
I am clever.
Which pretty much means Policybazaar has 3 years left. So 2008 is when we started, 17 years now. So yeah, 3 years. Now I'm a little scared. But having said that, to be honest, no, I was not aware of this stat, and now when I was thinking about it, it is also could be true because in the last post the digital revolution, there were a lot of startups and organizations which has cropped up post the revolution of digital. And if you look at the heritage organizations, be it Coca-Cola, be it ITC, be it the other organizations which have been there for the longest time, and even that point of time, a lot of organizations would have cropped up and did not exist. So my sense is that some of the organizations that cropped up during the digital revolution, a lot of them had a purpose, a very clear purpose of solving a consumer problem. And whatever technological revolution would happen or will happen in the future, if the core of any business is that what is the problem of the consumer that we are trying to solve, and we are super committed towards that problem. Like for example, I can only talk about Policybazaar. There, our problem is very simple. Like if you have heard Yashish talk about what he really wants and what he really intends, the only thing that he says is that I want the middle class India to have social security, period. So that is a very, very lofty and a single-minded objective that Policybazaar has. And he also in the interview said that, I don't want to be known for anything else. I just want people to remember Policybazaar for being able to provide social security for middle class India. So when you have a lofty and a very clear, single-minded goal like that, then everything else is building the business around it is not a big concern, or it is a concern, it is a challenge. You have dealing with people, you're dealing with regulator, you're dealing with competition. There are so many things, but when you have a purpose like that, and you have a team which is kind of totally aligned to that kind of a goal, and then technologies come, the innovation will keep happening, but you kind of stick to that goal, then the longevity automatically kind of increases. But having said that, what I feel is that because of the digital revolution, a lot of companies would have come up during this period. Some might not have had the kind of purpose that the others would have had, and it didn't exist. Technology is, I think a lot of business can also get killed because of technology, because they did not adapt. But eventually it all ties back to the overall lofty goal that a business has. So then when you have that, then you also will adapt to newer technology or newer innovations very easily. So that's my take on this.
Excellent. You know, Karan, I think he got the better end of the stick because he took away problem solving and he took away brand purpose. And we had to shift this to if this metric should change and, you know, brand can be in building enduring brands. If we have to move the conversation to that, what would it take? Now, ye do points to are gone. So what else is left on the table that, you know, marketers can focus on and brands can focus on?
How much time do I have? 20 minutes? I can speak 20
मुकम्मल
minutes.
वक्त 27 है,
Huh?
but you go
So first of all, thanks. And sorry for putting you know, spot of bother. Guys, listen, it's too early in the morning to be on your phone, so I just pay attention for a little while. It'll help because there's an entire rest of the day to get onto your mobile screens, right? So 10-15 minutes should be just about enough. Couple of quick points. I think age of brands come down when the brand stops being relevant. Brand stops being relevant if either the product or the service is no longer relevant, Kodak, remember Kodak?
Absolutely, yeah.
Or the brand is speaking in a language which is culturally not aligned to the new consumer group. So if you can deal with a product and service and reinvent product and services which are relevant to generations of consumers as they go along, and if you can change, adapt, upgrade, call it whatever you like to call, your lingo, your language, your vocabulary, without diluting the essence of the brand, there's no reason for brands to become outdated or irrelevant or for the ages to come down. The problem is that the people who are supposed to be doing this have just become lazy. And I'm sorry, but I'm saying that's a personal opinion. I think my comment is that people who are supposed to be serious brand custodians are just lazy. If in their watch, both these things are not happening, right? Because you're supposed to be responsible for that. He made a brilliant point about getting the middle class to feel financially insecure. Can that essence ever be irrelevant? Apple talks about innovation and simplicity. Can that essence ever be relevant? Nike talks about making a sports person from inside of you, right? Not actually on. Can that essence ever be relevant? At Hero Realty, we say that we want housing for all middle classes, honest, good product housing which you don't come. Can that essence ever be relevant? Now, if you don't know how to speak about it, if you don't know how to communicate it, if you don't know how to put your finger on the pulse of the consumer and package that communication, present your proposition in a manner which seeks resonance with them, then obviously your brand's going to be out of date, right? Or in the other situations, your product itself is obsolete, which is what happened with Kodak. Yeah. So I take this with a pinch of salt, you know. I just think that people need to be more conscientious, and by people I'm saying brand custodians, business custodians. They need to be more conscientious and they need to be more honest to their only business in life, which should be to keep the consumer bang in the middle of what they're doing. Customer centricity, honesty with consumer, making commitments which are relevant and make sense to the customers in a tone of voice, in a verbiage that matters. You keep those things right and you keep updating them as generations go along. Keep updating your cultural codes. Keep updating how you see a certain need changing focus and lens. I think you should be just fine.
I just want to add, because I take it as a very different point of view.
Sure.
Is that, see, fundamentally, any brand exists from a customer point of view, right? So it's a very good time. Customer has more option. Customer are re-evaluating the option. And the way that I see, it is very good for all the challenger brands. It need not be seen from saying those who are established brand. You think from a consumer, he has more choices. There is a scope for all the individuals, all the organization to help consumer re-evaluate this. And because the consumer is not a constant, that what they stand for earlier, the aspiration, the expectation will keep on changing. Now it throws a challenge to any incumbent or the new challenger. Now whosoever does well, and like Karan was sharing or Sai was sharing, it's the best way for the consumer. They can re-evaluate. If you are a challenger brand, then it's a very good position to be in. So whether it is 60, 20, it's just like an attention span. There was a time when people used to watch only DD National. After that, there is a plethora of things which has come in the form of a cable TV. Now there is OTT. Now to say that, is it bad for DD National? Yes, it could be, because they were not able to change or modify. But from a customer point of view, this is the best phase to be in. That's the way that I see.
Thank you, Suresh. Thank you. I think the fundamentals are laid on, I think the first takeaway is follow the basics. To future-proof your brand, do the things that iconic brands have been doing, stay relevant, have your purpose, be clear, give the customer more choice, get the customer perspective in, etc. Let's get to the nuts and bolts, so to say, because there's a long tail of brands that might not really be able to deliver on this, or they might be very clear on that purpose or what they're solving, but as Karan said, they're probably not articulating it well, or they really do not know how to get it out there. So let's get in, and I will have to get into the AI first world, yes. Let's talk about the shift in brand strategy. You know, Abhishek, we'll come to you last. We'll go to Sanchita first. Sanchita, you give us a sense on the non-negotiables. Now, the gentlemen have already kind of told us, ye to hai hi. Now, here onwards, when you're looking at the big brand picture, what is it that in this new world is a non-negotiable for you, the shift in brand strategy?
So the shift that we see is kind of a paradigm shift, right? One is, investing in your first party data, understanding, where the consumers are, what they are doing, what they want. So investing in first party data, understanding the entire consumer journey in the categories that you're operating on, being able to use that data to predict, what are the future trends, or where do we see what is giving the best ROI, where do you see, the next level of growth coming from, and therefore investing in personalization engines so that, we are able to, do precision at scale. I think that becomes totally non-negotiable. Like today, there's so much of data that is available in the market. How do you harness that data to actually, understand and get deep insights about your consumers, no matter which platform you are in? I mean, earlier, I remember when we started off, you only had a TAM and a BARC data. Apart from TV, today, nothing is measured. Sure. But in a digital-first world, you can actually understand where the shifts are coming from, how the shift is going to happen. So therefore, how am I able to harness that data to tell better stories for my brands? I think that becomes extremely, extremely important.
Great, thank you, Sanchita. You have a multi-brand perspective. I'm going to pull Abhishek here for, Abhishek, how many brands do you think, sorry about that, how many brands, that's why I kept mine with me. You look share karenge. How many brands do you think are actually investing or getting their data strategy right? Because I think a lot of that's the foundation. Now that first party data, getting the right partners, just try and give us a sense. You can give us your example or give us an industry sense.
I think in FMCG, on the categories where I come from, and today now I'm managing baby and beauty, personal care. I'm not very sure if you're doing enough on the first party data, yeah. And typically because you don't have a setup where you connect directly with consumers, right? So you're kind of selling through a chain of distributors and retailers. Consumers are buying it, and there's a lot of investment which you need to do to collect the first party data. And these are all mostly everyday use products, right? So I'm not very sure if you're doing it well in collecting, but for sure digital or digital media is an important aspect of investment today. Yeah, and you're trying to understand where the consumer is. So essentially, follow the consumer is the strategy which we adopt. Find out where the consumers are, what kind of content they are consuming, and then make sure that your content, which finds relevance with that set of consumers, you try and communicate, right? And in that process, one thing which is very critical, and that is the narrative of your brand, right? So you should not let the brand promise or the brand message get diluted in a process of shifting from one platform to another platform. So we have, at least within my team, I'm very clear, define your message and make sure that every platform delivers that message in a way that is most relevant for that platform, right? So that's something what we are doing. But going back to the first party, I'm not very sure if we are that good, especially from an FMCG perspective. I don't know, Suresh, if you want to add.
Yeah, I again have a very different point of view.
Thank you so much. You're sitting right next to me. I'm influenced him.
So in terms of the way that we have developed, and I'll take the example of ITC itself and ITC Foods. So our journey of this whole first party data had started almost like 6 years back. Okay, and there is a huge amount of data that we have. Obviously at that point there is a certain set of information that you get from the consumer. But that data is becoming much richer and richer. And hence, what is happening, and we have worked with multiple consulting firm in order to do that. There is a tech stack, which is from Adobe, the CDP data. So there are things, or the architecture is there in place. Now it is about usage. So fundamental shift in usage is coming. There was a time when it was all about reach. Now it is all about relevance. Okay. So reach is not the only metrics. Now it is about having the right relevance. The second part is that in the reach era, there is always about a one-way communication. But now it is about having conversation with the consumer. And a third part which becomes very critical and going forward, there was a certain point of time where we were looking at saying, you get information from customer and try and use that. But today, all the customer knows that their information is being used. So hence, what kind of policies that you have in order to get that data, utilize that data, and how authentic or transparent you are in doing so. I think it's an under-leveraged point, but will become more critical and critical besides the having relevant message, etc. So as an organization, we believe that while having a large part which is on the offline, but obviously there is a part which you get from the digital in terms of the consumer, but even very small thing like a consumer who's giving you a consumer complaint, that's also a data. You're doing an activation, that's also a data. You're doing some promoters which are doing an activity, that's also in data. It's just that you have to collect it in the right form and the usage has to be correct. That's what I think. So hence FMCG, the way that I see, that could be actually one of the strongest use case for a first party data.
All right, excellent. I did speak to some BFSI marketers as well, and they were not sure that they are A, collecting the right kind of data, B, utilizing it in any useful way. So I think that conversation is still a bit of a loop, but as you mentioned, it's a non-negotiable, irrespective of the age. We have to move to storytelling right now, apparently. So from a storytelling perspective, and because of this whole AI age again, and generative AI has played its role in this, how do you maintain that spirit without templating it? How do you maintain authenticity? Who wants to take it up? So Sai is jumping, go for it, yeah.
So on this entire AI discussion, I recently had attended a Meta conference where the global CMO of Meta was present and very closely works with Zuckerberg, and there is so much conversation about AI, and the moment you these days open LinkedIn, you see that you suddenly get scared that oh, we are lacking behind because everyone is talking about AI, everyone is working on AI, everyone is championed AI. So suddenly there's this sense of restlessness that kind of sets in, that are we lacking behind? Are we not using enough? So all these questions kind of pop up. And I was sitting there just to understand how well I can use AI, and then the first thing that his entire presentation was about the first principle, which is the fact that the basics of marketing and communications is absolutely the same, and AI is just a means to an end. So that really, really calmed me down, which is the fact that the basics and the first principle, which I spoke about in the first question as well, is absolutely going to be the same, which is earlier and he gave an example that earlier if you were supposed to send a postcard, you would have a personalized name, you would have a very clear communication, and you would have the address, and you will send it to that person. Now that entire thing is moving to a newer technology base. You're using WhatsApp, or you're using a different platform to communicate the same thing. So the only thing is that this entire AI world is that embracing AI very quickly, because 10 years back when someone said that the mobile is going to take over, all the people who laughed at them don't exist. So if someone is telling you that, AI in the next 10 years or 5 years, AI is going to take over a lot of the things, then you pretty much embrace it, right? And that's going to happen. Now, coming to the fact that about generative AI, I just feel that, one should not use AI just for the sake of using it. Like, because, it's very tempting to use it because we also have a VO3 license and all, and, my team also keep experimenting. Look, we have made a new video. We have done a new content piece. So, but I just, again, going back to the basic first principle that, is it serving the purpose of what you're trying to achieve? The metrics that you have set for, which is your, any metric, whether it's CTR or CPLs or whatever that you set, it should achieve that. Otherwise, it's just a toy in the hand of a kid.
Fair enough.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, if I can just add to the point, I think the content, the creation part of it, dissemination part of the content, and then possibly having a more efficient way of doing things. I think these are the stuff which a lot of organizations have started doing it. Building content at scale is another thing which used to be a big challenge in past. With the e-com coming in and the kind of content which you need to do, possibly those are the things which are really working as a use case, right? And has brought down both investment and cost and time, everything, to get those out. So I think these are a few things which is definitely working. Authenticity remains a big challenge, yeah. And I think we are in the initial stage right now. Everything, it's all buzz, right, around AI. Eventually, we'll have to see how authenticity plays and how consumers start reacting to it. Today, a lot of time people are really happy to see even an AI content. I don't know what will happen tomorrow, right? And so that evolution, and I believe that AI will continue to improve from where it is today to tomorrow. Yeah, I think that's what really is happening, and I think in FMCG again, representing the kind of business we are doing, this is stage one which we have already adopted.
Excellent.
We all know that today AI has democratized content. Like everyone sitting in this room would have created a reel, would have created videos, would have created ads. But no matter what, you can't take away the human element. I mean, and I'll give you an example of our client Swiggy. The Bhogelo Bone campaign that we did last year, which is around the tiger widows of the Sundarbans. Like, it's an ostracized community in West Bengal, not allowed to participate in festivals because they are widows and everything. But so what did the brand do? They got these people. So it was a floating pandal that they did. They took the festival to these people, included them in the festivals, which otherwise they were not part of. So that tapping into that cultural insight or nuance will only be possible when, of course, you use AI to do things at scale, but you cannot take away the human element out of things. You still need that to be there for to create those deeper cultural stories that will resonate with your consumers.
Sure, human in the loop, that makes sense. And we have had this conversation for a while. The problem of AI is not the first step. The problem starts coming when you start templating it just because you can. And marketers themselves have some of the most horrifying deadlines that they give to their agencies, etc. That shortcut just looks nice and tempting. So, how do you kind of get out of that? I see we are on the last 10 minutes somehow. I wanted to do the long-term versus short-term conversation also a little bit. In this, first just, jump in the conversation if you have an answer for this. Has the short-term performance metric or anything else, what you're gauging the short-term on changed because of our fragmented, digital-first, AI-first world? Has anything in the short-term changed?
So I have clients reaching out to with questions, and honestly, we are working on 2 projects right now, and the question is exactly that. Brand versus performance. What is that balance that we need to follow? And whether it's Swiggy, whether it's a consumer durable brand, the questions are the same. Of course, so somewhere what we think is, and what is working is, you need to find that right balance. And that balance will depend on, the category in which you're operating, the heat in that category, the life stage of the brand that you're operating, So it depends on multiple factors. Theoretically, we all know that 60-40 works best, but the way the interactions has happened today, everything is, your mobile is your first port of contact for any consumer engagement, right? So it need not be that may not hold true. So whether it's a 70-30 or whether it's a 60-40 or whether it's a 55-45, that is a question that I think we all need to answer, and we need to find that balance. So that is something that we are trying to do across the multiple categories today that we are working on. So I think, and I don't know, I'm sure it must be true for in all the categories that you also play. I mean,
No, bang on. I think in FMCG, the percentage of spend across platform is like a joke, right? And when you meet another marketer in any of these conferences, you ask, like, what's the kind of spend you're doing on performance versus digital versus TV, right? And I think everybody's developing their own methodology and model, over a period of time which works for them. So, yeah, I mean, I completely agree.
Excellent. The conversation has become the few good men kind of conversation. It'll get you in again. The common traps, when you're trying to do this, what are some of the common traps that can happen and how do you guard against it? Do you want to just identify the traps first, if you think of any?
See, in terms of whether, so there are multiple discussions that we have had, which is against a performance marketing versus a short-term marketing versus a long-term marketing. The other has been about saying whether AI, what is it is about authenticity. I just have a takes on both of them. There is one part that I see, first on the AI bit. The way that I see AI is about democratization of the access. There was a time when there was no Instagram. You would see all your celebrities, etc., only in certain movies, when they were doing promotion, or certain magazines. That was the only access. Now you see them on a daily basis. You can see what they are doing. So they have democratized the access. The second, so what it is, AI is also democratizing a lot of things. There were times when we were using Lotus 123, Karan will know, in ITC we used to have that mail system. Now we have Microsoft Office. So it's the tech part which is changing. Yes, it simplifies life. So that's one. The second is that the expectation or the conversation itself are changing. So if we go back, when say mobile was not there, there's something emojis. Whether the conversation, whether it was in the postcard, will they be about emojis? No. But it has changed, the world has changed. And now, to imagine saying that you can have a conversation without emoji looks very different and difficult. Because I use it a lot with my wife conversation in order to just say that it's okay. One smiley can do the job rather than a long sentence. Now, in terms of the trap, it's saying, one, the biggest one is that you assume that it is not changing, the world is not changing, or the AI is not changing. And you still say that I will still keep doing the things that I was doing and I got success because of it. So that's the first and the biggest trap. The second are about experimentation, okay? Nobody is looking for a rule of thumb. So there used to be a TV where you used to say that the 50 at 5 plus is the TV frequency that you run, and then you will assume that this is the thumb of the rule, and that's what most of the brand, whether which was the TG, almost everybody was doing it. But this is the time of experiment. Now whether something will work for you or not work for you is something that you will have to experiment. Whether a kind of communication, whether a kind of pack, whether a kind of concept. Now everything is about trying, experimenting, and then confirming it with the consumer. So what it is happening, all these experiments are basically a conversation with the consumer in the right manner. So erstwhile research, which used to be in a forced environment, whether they will be called to some central location or you will go to their home, talk about saying ki how will you eat this, whatever XYZ, a biscuit, which is so untrue in real life. Now, nobody will think about a biscuit saying ki isme aisa aata hai, isme aise cookies hai, nuts hai. Nobody will do that. But now, through digital mediums, you can experiment with the consumer in the way that they are interacting with the brand. So these are the two pitfalls that I see, not changing. And second, not learning from the experiment and still trying to use certain thumb rules.
Excellent. Any other Karan wants to get in.
I think the biggest pitfall is laziness, right? Or inertia, or being condescending. मैं तो ऐसे ही करता हूँ, हमारे यहाँ ऐसे ही होता है. This is how we've done it, and this is how we'll continue to do it, right? I think the biggest pitfall is that AI, and my favorite example, I speak at various conferences and I give this, is like doing maths with a calculator and doing maths without the calculator. When the calculator wasn't there, everybody did mental maths, right? Or did the actual calculation on a piece of paper. A lot of people at that point of time said, calculator, is this a good thing or a bad thing? This should not be allowed. It should not be allowed in exams because it's taking away your ability to think. AI in some kind of a ways, I see it in a similar kind of capacity. If both of us are competing and I decide to compete using AI and he decides to compete without using AI, who's going to win? Because there is an advantage of what this system brings to the table. The disadvantage is you become lazy, and which is all the conversations that we were having. You start templating things too often or too frequently. You just don't apply your intelligence anymore, right? Also on the point of authenticity and brand authenticity, don't forget AI, and here we're talking of generative AI, because AI otherwise has existed for 10, 15 years, right? We started IoT of things 15 years ago. So generative AI, the entire question of brand authenticity is still driven by prompt engineering. That is still up to the brand team. It is still up to the brand custodian. What kind of language, what kind of tone, what kind of values, what kind of communication you want to do is still up to the brand team. Now you want to become lazy about it and template things, that's a problem. Right? So I don't have a problem with authenticity either. The only thing I do want to touch upon, which we haven't as of now, is IP related and ethical related issues with AI. Because often when you are generating content, you don't know where that engine is picking up stimulus from in creating that picture or in writing that book or paragraph. And that has ethical issues on IP and patents that we need to be careful about, and that's a different discussion altogether, and we can have one at some point of time separately. But I'm saying that part of AI is the one that we need to watch out for. Using AI intelligently is what we should have ourselves being responsible for. Not using it indiscriminately and in a lazy manner is something we need to guard against. And I will come back to the point that I said earlier. If you cannot create a cultural operating system for your brand, and you cannot from time to time update that operating system, just like you have software updates on your phones, right? If you can't update your operating system or your cultural operating system, you will become irrelevant. Never mind what brand, never mind what product category.
Thank you, Karan. We literally are in the last 17 seconds, so we need to, dial it down now. But I think we covered ground and we did justice to our subject, and our journalists will have a lot to write about from this session. We have a bit of a guideline on how you could extend that 20 years, but I think the starting point is just stay true to the basic, and then after that, keep reinventing yourself. Common traps have been discussed. I think I'd add to that common trap. It's not just you're not changing, but you're imagining you're changing. The AI washing or fake AI, you're thinking you've done it, you've really not done it. That's just like a level up. But beyond that, we have covered everything. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for my great panelists. We didn't fight. That was amazing.